So the minute you
Okay.
get like your stack of like transcripts, right? You're going to go into Salesforce, and what you can do. And this is great because this is a good segue to show you what the video will also show you. You can go into the Outreach tab. There's a new tab in here for you to go and take that stack of documents, take those stack of progress reports and transcripts, go into this verify academic documentation grid, and you'll see here of everyone who submitted part one, what their status is in terms of academic documentation. So let's say you've got your stack of stuff and we're going to go to Leslie Pena. I'm going to go over here and say, I have gotten both of these pieces from her RP, and I'm going to save. And you're going to go down the list and do that for all the students you have documentations for. The minute you do that, the system will automatically refresh based on the information that you input, and those students will now be marked as part 2 in progress. So you'll know you've got some stuff already in the system, and there are just a couple of things, or like maybe one piece of academic documentation that's outstanding, or one piece of like income documentation that's not, right? So the minute you start going in there and updating that you've gotten their academic stuff and their income stuff, those statuses will automatically update for you, and you don't have to change a thing. So related to that, so that's how you would verify academic documentation. And so how you would go about and do the income piece is come to your handy dandy applications dashboard here, or you can go directly to the grid. Either way works, but I think this is a little bit more efficient because you'll want to check on this anyways. When you refresh this grid, you're going to look at this part 2 status, and you'll see this table that says document uploaded to review. So these will show you all the students, that have uploaded documents that you need to go in, look at, and verify, right? So you could click on the component to get to those document records, right? So I'm clicking through from the report, and you can go through here and look at it. But what's easier is going to the Outreach tab, going to this review documents grid, which is the first one that's highlighted, and then just start looking at the information. So I'm going to go over to John Williams. So you click on the name of the document. Let me back up so you can see again. Let me close this. You'll click on the name of the document, right? So you have the student's name here. You'll see where they are, right, in the progress of like what they need. So in this case, like you'll still see him come up here because he still doesn't have his 9th grade transcript in. So let's say this is him uploading his 9th grade transcript because he's not from a school where you have a referral partner relationship. You'll click on the document name, so you'll see it's linked. It'll open up as a new tab or a new window, and then you'll see the things attached here. So you can click view, and then you'll see what the documentation is, verify that it's the right thing, right? Just pretend that's the right thing. And then you can go back to the grid and then click in there that you've got everything and save. So it allows you to do it and then just click and close like different windows as you're like viewing all the different attachments, right? So once you click save, everything will be updated. So John Williams is one of the fake students, so I'm going to go ahead and update this now, right? So if I click save, here we're going to also look at here. So I'm going to also show you interactively John Williams. Okay, so this is John Williams like record in here, and you'll see right now he says part 2 in progress. If I go ahead and save here, first thing you'll also notice is that he disappears off this grid because now he's completely verified. There's nothing left for you to do. So there's nothing that you have to worry about here. If we go here and refresh his record, you'll see too, just to prove that, you'll see it says full application submitted. So he's done. He's got everything all set. So if we go back to the dashboard, refresh here, let's just kind of pay attention to this progress by school and the different statuses at the bottom. You'll see now, once this loads, you'll have a new student status on there that should say part 1 and 2 submitted or full application submitted, and then you'll see a student pop up here. And then that way you'll have everything kind of automatically updated for you, right? So now you'll see in purple, you have one student from Fenway High School who's all set. And then, and then when you get down towards the bottom of the dashboard, you can even just pull a list here. You'll see here of the schools that have full, or you'll see by high schools how many applications complete with, you know, the online application done and all their documentation in, a whole tally here. So if you wanted to submit a list of just those completed apps, like 100%, you can take this report and then send it to your RPs. Similarly, well, here, I'll stop here and pause before I jump into the next part of the dashboard. But any questions or clarifying pieces about the documentation verification and status updates and things like that?
Thanks, Yuan. Once a student completes part 1 and 2 and we verify it, is there an automated email that says you're all set, or is that on us to send?
Nope, it's automated. So all those emails that we had reviewed a couple weeks ago, those automatically get sent. So just kind of a quick rundown of the email reminders that happen. When a student starts an application and they do save and submit, so they check that box that says save and submit, they're going to get an email immediately saying, congrats for starting your application. If you need any help, here's a list of people to talk to from whichever the sites are, right? And then 7 days after that, if they haven't submitted it yet, they'll get an email to tell them to finish it up. And then again after 14 days and again after 21 days. So that's what happens when they start something but haven't finished submitting it. Once they've submitted and done the e-signature, they're going to get an email that says, congratulations on submitting your application. This is your next step. Submit your documentation and check with your RPs about whatever. On that timeline, so at that point, it's on them and it's on us, right? So we have to submit, we have to put in the academic documentation when we get it, or they have to submit everything. But within that time frame, after they've gotten that, you've submitted part 1, 7 days after that, it'll remind them, hey, don't forget to upload your stuff. 14 days and then another 21 days. They'll get reminders to submit things or to check with RPs if they've done that. So within that window of the reminding them to upload things and submit things, that's also a process check for everybody at your site to make sure that they are updating the students' records with academic documentation when they've gotten it, and to check the document upload review thing and to mark the students, because that's on us. So if students might still be getting reminders even if they technically have submitted everything, but if you haven't updated that in Salesforce, they will still get the reminders. So this is where you need to be on top of updating things. So be wary that, you know, if you're a little bit behind, students might call you or email you or whatever saying, hey, I submitted it, did you get it, and stuff like that. So just a process check for you and your site and your teams to make sure you know who's handling what and how you're updating things. Yeah. And then again, when everything's in the system, they'll get an email that says, congrats, you know, we've got your full application, and someone will contact you like in the next like few weeks to see you'll schedule an interview. And then that from there, that follow-up is on you. So then you can take the list that comes up in part 1 and part 2 submitted to review them and then determine who you're going to call for interviews. Okay, before I jump into the other process pieces, Alex, what's our time check? I just want to make sure I saved enough time for everything else.
We end the whole call at 3:30, so we have 15 more minutes on the online app.
Okay. Is this helpful? Do people want me to review the rest of this before I ask process questions? And I'm happy to just leave it at that. You can review the video and then we can do email questions too.
At least for me, I think reviewing the video will be more helpful, like to this point, and then email you afterwards.
Okay, perfect. If that works for folks, let's do that. Okay, so let me get back to the notebook.
But I still do have 2 more questions.
Oh, yes. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So the other question was edits. So like if a student submits one and like we go back and review and like for example, short answer, like some students maybe put like 1 or 2 sentences. and maybe we want like a little bit more. Like I noticed on Salesforce, it's like locked, so you can't like. I mean, we wouldn't edit the responses, but like, is there any? What's the process of that, like reopening or?
I can reopen it on the back end to tell them, like, so like if you wanted them, like, what would your preferred way be? That they just go in there, write more, and then send it over again? Or did you want them to like email you? So I guess it depends. Like, do you want it to live as a permanent record of this is what their official response is and you want that to live in Salesforce? If that's the case, I can, on the form assembly side, you would send me their name and say, can you reopen this student's application so they can make an edit? Then I can do that. Or you can just kind of handle it outside of Salesforce and have them email it to you, and then you can modify it. So it all depends on what works for you workflow wise.
Yeah, I'll do it that way, the way we did it for the shoe size, where I just reach out to the student and then tell them that link is going to,
Okay.
Do it that way. Okay. And then this one, I guess, is not so much maybe like online, but maybe related. But I was thinking about for interviews and like intake, like normal applications, they're like things that we walk through the application, but now like since it's online, I guess we'll have like laptops now, maybe during interviews if you're interviewing students. That's like kind of different than like what we did in the past, and like that's logistically that's a new element thrown into interviews.
I wonder if the next topic of the half sheet will address that. Ron, do you think?
Meaning, so I guess I'm not 100% sure on what this process is. Are you saying that before you actually interview the student, you review everything that's on their application to make sure it's correct?
No, like during the interview, like we walk through their application to make sure all the information is correct. So like when it's done, the paper copy, like we go through, it's like, okay, we want to make sure all these parts of the application are correct. Like that's why we make sure we get the number of like insurance, or like if they spend a night in the hospital, or like who's in their household. Like we just make sure all the information we have there is correct. Like normally it's like one thing we did during interviews. So like now this is online, it's like, we got to make sure like maybe having like a laptop or something to like
cross-check with them. Yeah, I mean, I think we can.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So are we saying that the online application info we won't be able to upload that into the interview sheet anymore?
You can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and I don't know if you use the interview sheets, Tolu, or not.
Oh yeah, interview sheet. Okay.
Yeah. So that can get all pulled in. So yeah. And
I just had a minor heart attack because it's impossible to get Wi-Fi access in BPS, and so the thought of having to take laptops is scary.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And hopefully maybe by the time interviews rolls around, and is that just tentatively speaking, is that still kind of January timeframe for most, or is everybody, or some people starting like December or November?
January.
Okay. I mean, by that time we might be able, it depends on what the form situation looks like and with licenses, but we might be able to have a process in there where we can build the form so you don't have to do mail merge, and it's just an automatic PDF printout that you just run and then just print off. What I saw. Everybody get happy about that. So we'll work towards that and we'll see. But January is a better timeline for us than December. Okay. Process. Okay, so a quick note. So there might be, Tolu mentioned, and I had mentioned too, that sometimes, one of the things that we didn't, errors that didn't come up while we were testing the online applications, there might be errors that happen on students as students are doing it, and I see it on my end since I have the access to the form assembly. But the process that I've been doing now is if there are individual errors, I'll email you directly and say, hey, this is the issue. you know, can you reach out to your student and have them do this? But that might not be sustainable as we start to get into the thick of the presentations, and there might be a high volume of errors that might come through, and hopefully we've kind of ironed it all out. But what I'm recommending is that like I can do a daily check for any processing errors, right? That would prevent a student from saving or like continuing on. So for instance, on the shoe size, you have to enter a number, right? And it has to be like, instead of 5.5, you put 5.5. You cannot write 5.5, right? And so if a student does that, they'll get an error and then they can't move on, right? They won't save and it won't go to Salesforce. So if things like that happen, what I was going to do is to do a daily check and then populate it into an Excel sheet. And then and everyone should follow that sheet, and it should be up to you to check that and then do the follow-ups with those students directly. So you can email them and say, hey, here's, we noticed you started an application, there was an error, this is the error, this is how you fix it. And then that way you can reach out directly. And the reason being is that like on my end, I can reopen the survey and send them a note through Form Assembly, but that email comes back to the application help at Summer Search that we manage, and we don't want there to be confusion in terms of what email and who to reach out to if they have help or if they need further help. So that was our reasoning behind that. And if that works for you, then I think that's kind of the system that we want to go with.
Thanks, Yuan. That sounds fine to me, but can I ask a quick question? Is it possible to like, after the question or prompt, to put like an example of how they need to enter it, so maybe we can avoid some of those?
Yep. So for the shoe size, I did exactly that when the first error hit. So okay. In parentheses, I said enter half sizes as 0.5, and it says 8.5, 6.5, whatever. So I did that. But there are other like random errors that come up with someone trying to enter a date with spaces instead of slashes. So there's other things that you wouldn't think, instead of like 4/18/2004, it was 4 space 18 space 2004. So yeah. Any objections to that kind of system for follow-ups? All right. Great. So I'm trying to check around to see which one would be the quickest ones to get in for discuss process notification. So that one's already set up. So timeline confirmation. So what the question came up, and I forget who brought this up, but right now, as we had chatted about initially, there are 4 statuses that come up in terms of the application status of itself. If it's in progress, if it's been submitted, if verification's in progress, and if the full application was submitted. And so based on some other conversations that we had, I think starting with Bay Area maybe, and then also from when Alex and I just chatting, we assume that there might be some additional statuses that you might want to use after the initial application has been submitted to mark whether or not an application was eligible, who you are, who you aren't calling forward to interview, so you can have and pull reports for those specific students. And or when you're producing interview sheets, you can do that in an easy way because you'll be able to filter for just those subset of students. I don't know if that will have time to brainstorm all the scenarios or all the specific statuses, but if you can start to think about like the subset of students and how you want to indicate them in the system after you've started reviewing like short answers and eligibility, consider those, and then maybe we can do like an email follow-up, and then everybody can respond of the different statuses or situations that you might want to call out and be able to report out on. So again, like examples of that are, if you review the thing and you'll say ineligible applicant, eligible applicant, or eligible and calling for interview, or eligible and like waitlist interview, or things like that. I'm just making things up off the top of my head, but I think you'll know what you'll need in terms of like how to like, if you think of the piles of applications that you made when you separated them out, how would you separate out those applications if you still had paper? Okay. Office hours. Right now, we don't have any further office hours set up. and just wanted to gauge interest and see if you think there will still be need of kind of facilitate or having these available in case you have questions or want to talk through other situations.
I think they're useful and helpful. I think I've only done one school so far, so that's like, it's been pretty manageable right now. But like as I like get into the weeds, like next week, yeah, definitely would be helpful.
I see here in chat, Bradley said it'll be helpful for him. Should we do, I think, what was our current schedule? We kind of did it like 2 or 3 times a week, right, Alex? Do we want to stick to like maybe twice a week initially and then taper off? Or I think it's hard to know. I haven't checked the calendar, and I don't know if people have populated additional presentation dates in there, but we could do it based on the volume of presentations in any given week, given that we have data in the calendar to go by. I don't know if other folks have thoughts, or Alex.
Yeah, yeah. If you all like have the capacity to populate the calendar, we can be intentional about when we schedule it. Otherwise, it's generally like presentations are just going to be picking up universally across all of your sites, then we can just do it like we did before and have it like staggered in the week. If that works for everybody, have 2 calls staggered at different times. Okay, let's do that. I'm not maybe I'll do it for like the next 3 weeks, and then we can check in again. By then it might be time for our November cohort call anyway. So we can check in about it then. Okay.
Awesome. How much time, Alex? We have like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I wonder, let's see what we do super quick. Do you want to just give your quick updates, and then maybe we can follow up?
Yeah. So I started to take the application out of form assembly and put it into Word for the purpose of translating, especially the parent page. So for 2 reasons. 1, to have a paper version available, and 2, to translate the parent section into Spanish on the online application. I need to pull it out of form assembly, right, and put it into Word. I wondered for the paper application, now that you all are like into it, does it still feel like, are you still wanting that before I wrap that project up? Martina's shaking her head no. I mean, I think we initially thought about that to make sure that it was accessible even for students who had maybe access issues, and because we didn't know how smooth or not smooth the process was going to be. It seems like it's going okay, even though I know some of you are just like at the very beginning of the process. So it makes, I guess that's where my question is coming from, and wondering if it's still a necessary thing.
You know what?
Is that you, Bradley? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. Do you know when the Spanish version is going to be done for online app?
It should be done by next Tuesday. The Spanish content of the web page has been translated, and that's like live. But the actual parent content on the application won't be till next Tuesday.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, well, how about this? What if I'll continue proceeding with the Spanish translation, because that's a need, but maybe I will hold on making a paper version of the application or finishing that, unless somebody lets me know that you need it. Does that sound okay? Okay. Okay, cool.
Okay, I think we're at time, right, Alex? But I do want to just mention one thing, and then really quickly that came to me from someone's comment during the check-in. And maybe this is something we could talk about either in November or follow up via email for. But one thing that I think might be helpful is what if the applications don't pick up online? Like if there should be like some target like benchmark numbers that we should want to like keep track of like on a week by week basis, and then what process like everybody wants to go through in helping our like RPs like push for that. And I don't know if that's something that is like going to come up because I guess like, and I don't know how this happened traditionally with the paper applications. Like, do you expect to have like, 100 by like this point in time or 50 by this point in time? Like, what would you like want to see when you're looking at the dashboard in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is, so that like if we're not starting to hit those targets that you had hit when you had paper applications, what can we do or what can you do to proactively like get those numbers up so we at least match? I mean, I think the ideal was like having the online application would reduce the barrier to entry, so theoretically we should see more applications online than we did on paper. But what if it's not picking up? And I feel like we need to have like an eye to those, to what those numbers might be, so that we can get ahead of it before all of a sudden it's December and you're like at 50% of what the paper application would have been like. So I just wanted everybody to start thinking about that. And I don't know, Alex, or everybody, anyone else has like a suggestion of how we want to follow up with this conversation or look at that. But at least want to put that in each of your head. I know you already have a lot to think about, and this is like one last thing you probably want to start thinking about, but in terms of at least making sure that we get the momentum and the success that we want from having this, that we at least are mindful about like what numbers we want to make sure we hit by a certain time frame.
Hey, this is Bethany. That sounds really good. At least we're kind of in, I don't know, I don't want to say like a complete opposite, but the pressure for us to kind of exceed the numbers than we have with applications this year is on New York. So we are looking for like kind of insane application numbers, I feel like, here. Wish we could share all these spots with you, Boston and Bay Area. There must be a better way we can, work collaboratively. I've got to figure out how to make this work better. So I feel like that data could be really helpful for us too, to be able to share back, at least I know with like our program management and even with our ED here, like, so he can be aware of the fact that, if there are issues that have come up with the online application, that while we're concurrently trying to, do new things, like we don't know what to expect from these online applications. So it would be great if we could have like summaries of I guess we can have that already. But yeah, like it would be good to have like maybe some type of like target numbers attached with actual numbers, at least for New York. I feel like that's going to be data that can be shared with our board and our ED.
Yeah, I mean, like real-time numbers you can always get off the dashboard, and so it would be kind of like looking at what your presentation schedule would be like and saying, okay, like by this time, this many schools, we would hope that we would have like this many applications in, and just kind of like progress check against the dashboard, whatever the intervals are. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is not so much something for the cohort to decide, but at least for each individual site to be mindful of, and just doing some forward planning and thinking. So like, at the end of October, this is what we've got like X presentations down. And so we would hope that we get X% applicants out of all those students, and let's see where we are when we run the dashboard then. So just, yeah, I guess calling it to your attention that you should at least keep note, because this is a new thing, and theory into practice is always going to be a little bit different, and so there might be other barriers that maybe we hadn't thought about. Because like one of the things I was thinking of is like when you gave out paper applications, there was a piece of paper sitting in a backpack that someone's like, oh yeah, I was going to apply for this thing, let me go do that thing, and now they don't have something physical to look at. Is that going to make like a difference in applications or something like that? I don't know. This was just something that occurred to me on BART as well too. Sure, kids aren't always 100% focused on things, but like maybe since we're still so new, maybe you do give out like another little sheet of paper or like a bookmark, you know what I mean? So that they have something that's lying around that they can be like, oh my God, yeah, let me apply for that thing. So yeah, just something to think about.
I love that you raised this, Ron. I think we could identify just from a holistic perspective of managing the implementation of this, like on the NAPT, I think you and I can identify maybe some benchmarks too that hold the whole network, and we can communicate that back with the sites. And then I like the extra layer of U.S. sites determining based on your presentation cadence what you should expect, and your history of applicants from each school. So maybe the combination of both of those things will help us assess our progress as we're moving. Okay, Roxanne, maybe you and I can do some thinking and we can get back to the group. Cool.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I will stop talking now.
Well, the last thing we had, and I want to make sure we give time to it, is totally wanted to talk to the group about possibly using Microsoft Teams as a cohort to communicate and collaborate. So I'll put it to you, Tolu. You're on mute. Hey, Tolu, you're on mute. Hi, Louise. We have a special guest, the youngest member of the outreach cohort. Aw.
Multitasking.
She's so good. If Cara and you were on my lap, she would be pushing all the buttons right now.
Oh, no, that's how I just got on camera.
Shirley, are you with us?
Okay. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. First of all, that's a lot. It's 10 people to me because that baby is gorgeous, Bethany. But the other thing is the student knocked me off the line. But back to Microsoft Teams. Just a need for a communication platform. I think it'd be really easy just to get message or just post things or share things. It's pretty intuitive and it's synced already with the platform we already use. So that was my main thought with it. So just want to hear what you guys think. Hello?
Silence.
I don't have any experience with it, so I can't give any input yet. So.
When Tolu told me, I had to look it up too because I'd never used it, and it looks pretty cool. And I think that it depends on people's how many people are already using it and their familiarity or their willingness to learn something new. And if we did use it, I think we just want to talk about how we want to use it and normalize around it a little bit. We're going to be big picture. We're going to be talking this year about revamping cohorts overall. And so I think it could be an opportunity if this group wanted to use it to test it and see how it's working and maybe exploring whether other cohorts or other teams might want to use it. And you all use it in Philly already, right, Tolu?
Yes, we do. I'm hearing maybe another cohort might think about using it as well. It's similar to Slack or just any type of instant messenger or Skype for Business, but you could do it with groups. And it's pretty there's video calling as well through it as well. So I think it's just a cool way. Sometimes an email, some people don't see it or it gets backlogged, and just a quick message or just something oh, here's my notes and what are people's thoughts on this. just another way for us to communicate.
Based on that description, it seems like the one purpose it could serve that's not being met yet, at least from my vantage point, is that like collective gathering of input or ideas or thoughts about what other sites are doing with a question that we usually reserve to these calls, but it could be a way to like pull information or thoughts from the group in between our like regularly scheduled calls.
For myself as a DP, I mean, I'm down to learn something new that where we can organize all of our thoughts collectively. So I'm with it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's like I don't think it'll take very long for us to like just get how to use it. Like it's pretty fast. Like we'll just have to just formulate a group and like it'll all be synced with our emails. Like that's the easy part about all of it. So I'll connect with like Erin about it just to see like how she forms the groups. But I definitely wouldn't mind like connecting with you, Alex, about like how to form one for the outreach core if we all like agree with that.
Ooh, I saw thumbs from Martina and Bradley's comment in the chat. New York team, what do y'all think? You want to try it out and see how it goes? Or does it seem, or not?
We've started to use it a little bit in New York. I think with some of our like managers meeting, I found it really hard just right now during outreach season because I'm not at a computer very often. Like just being mobile all the time makes it kind of difficult. Just because it's an instant message. So that's the only part I found hard to stay updated with. But I think otherwise it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm down to give it a try as well. Check it out. See.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, let's maybe you and I connect and we can come up with a plan for how we want to launch it and test it out.
Got it. Thanks, guys.
All right, we're right on time. Happy presenting, everybody. We'll see each other again in a few weeks. I'll send a doodle poll for our November 10th.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.